Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council Business Consortium webinar. It is our Hot Sheet Live, our pandemic newsletter, a webinar geared toward our minority businesses. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. And we're hoping that you're staying healthy and safe during our pandemic. And we are looking forward to our conversation today about the federal government contracting agency forecast with the Army, Navy, and Air Force. We will be back momentarily so that we can begin. If you get a moment, go ahead and grab that cup of coffee. It's 5 o'clock somewhere if you want a mimosa, and make sure you know where the bathrooms are located. Be back real soon. Thank you. Good morning. Again, this is Sharon Pender. I'm President and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council. Thank you so very much for joining us today for our Hot Sheet Live, our special edition. This is part 5 of Where is the Money? Army, Navy, and Air Force small business directors share federal government contracting and agency forecast. If that's what you have planned to do in this next hour, you are in the right place. And we are very, very honored to bring these esteemed directors here to talk to you. Let's get started by just, if we could, looking at the agenda. And I'd like to bring on someone. Perfect. Thank you. If we can just get started with the general conversation. I don't know how many of you are currently doing business with the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force. So let's take a quick poll. Are you doing business with the services? Check all that apply. If we can quickly do that. And the reason that why we're doing that, ladies and gentlemen, is because we would just want to get a sense of who we're talking to. We have hundreds of people that have signed up today, and we just want to know some of the things that we you may find of interest, and we just kind of want to get anchored a bit, if you don't say. So, okay, so of the audience that's currently in place, I think that's kind of pretty good, right? Okay, so we taking a snapshot. Let's take a look at our agenda, if we could. And I'd like to bring on Mr. Tommy Marks. Tommy is the director of the Federal Procurement Center, which is a grant that we have from the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Federal Procurement Center. Good morning, Tommy.
Good morning. Got to learn how to operate the equipment.
That's okay. That's okay. Listen,
Good morning. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I want to personally thank you for creating this conversation and this opportunity today. Did you get a chance to see the poll in terms of the number of people that were on at the time and who had done business in the 3 areas? That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
I did, yes.
Okay. If we want to kind of get started, Tommy, you have some rock stars among us. And, I'll include you in that as well. But we certainly appreciate everything that you're doing to bring this conversation forward. And I'll be back because we have some other special guests besides the people that you are going to be introducing us to, we have tickets that we're giving away. That may have been a secret that nobody knows about, but we have Southwest Airlines here. I'm impressed out of my mind. And we'll be giving away some tickets later on. Hi, there's Karen Price Ward, and you'll be
Hello,
talking to her
Karen.
later.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, and what I will do is right now, Karen and I will kind of disappear and we'll show up later on um, talking about Southwest and other things. And Tommy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. And for those out in the audience, that giveaway is going to take place after we finish these outstanding fireside chats. So don't leave too early. My first guest actually is Mr. Scott Kaiser, who's a member of the Senior Executive Service Department of the Air Force and their Director of Small Business. I would like Scott to join us. And our goal today is Scott's going to share with you some things that about the Air Force and what their needs are and the direction that they're going with their forecast. Scott, good morning.
Good morning, Tommy, and good morning, everybody who's joined us today. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to do so. Hopefully what we'll share from myself and the esteemed colleagues, Jimmy Smith from the Navy and Pamela from the Army that you'll be hearing from shortly, will be of some value to you. We've also sent forward to Mr. Tommy Marks, and I believe it'll be posted somewhere within the confines from the organizers, some 28 slides talking about Air Force small business programs. Now, rest assured, I'm not going to go through all 28 slides and induce that type of pain. However, before we get into Air Force small business programs, I'd like to just set kind of the context, perhaps that all of the military services, as well as all of us as Americans face. And I'd like to just mention to you, and this I'll state up front, I am apolitical. All I care about is America. And quite frankly, we are all facing a threat that we have probably not recognized, and many people are becoming more aware of today, and that is the threat from China. Many small businesses have had their intellectual property basically lifted and taken to China. China is a growing concern, and once again, not necessarily, this isn't anything against Chinese people, but the People's Communist Party of China is in fact very strong, and they have a goal. And they have clearly stated as part of their 100-year plan that they are looking to, quote, reascend to supremacy among all nations. And what that means is, as you look back on the history of China going back 4,000 years, they, for many centuries and millennia, were the preeminent power in the world. When you study the history, it's only been within the last 150, 200 years that they have not been as powerful, but they are, quite frankly, on the rise. And they look to bump America out of the #1 position. But here's where small business, and this is the exciting part of it, and this is the time for small business, particularly the high-tech firms, and also at all levels and in all efforts, is for all of America, and particularly small business. In the words of the Air Force's Director of All Acquisition, Dr. Will Roper, said, quite frankly, he hates the term small business because that is not small impact. Small business can have a huge impact at all levels, whether it's a high-tech firm, whether it's somebody with a new engineering approach, whether it's somebody with the innovation to keep us ahead, or whether it's somebody who's doing things in an innovative, cost-effective manner so that we can spend those taxpayer dollars that are provided to us by Congress in a more efficient and effective manner. And this affects all of us. And it's all part of the national strategy because, quite frankly, many of the large businesses are no longer the innovators of our society. They have not, and they are, quite frankly, not in the lead. We are going to depend on small business because small business is the way. So thank you for being that courage, having the courage to run a small business, start a small business, and do this on a daily basis. It's absolutely tremendous. And so as we look at if we can as I look at the charts, I mean, if you go to chart number 2, that you'll see is the vision and mission of the Air Force Small Business Program. And we are creating a culture to maximize small business opportunities. Never before have we used particularly our small business innovative research dollars in such an effective way. We're now up to over $800 million, and Dr. Roper is very focused on getting that innovative research going to really maximize our capabilities as a nation so that we may remain strong and free. And so all of this, as you go look through it, is quite frankly the mission of the United States Air Force, and the mission of the Air Force Small Business Program is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace. Make no doubt about it, space is now a congested and contested realm. And we are not necessarily in the lead, and we do not, as a nation, we are not necessarily granted to stay where we are. And so we need everybody weighing into this because quite frankly, we're already in a fight, just many people don't realize it yet. But that's where small business is. Last year, the United States Air Force, in the last 6 years, the Air Force has doubled its dollars to small business. We've gone from 6 billion to over 12 billion. And that might not be as large as some of the other services, but the trend is there. We are more focused on small business, a doubling of the dollars to small business, and we intend to increase that as well. If you go to the next slide, please. This is how we kind of line up with the National Defense Strategy. That came out from Secretary Mattis a few years ago, a kind of very clean, simple, insightful national defense strategy for our country and for our very freedom, looking 8 to 10 years away. And when I mentioned China's 100-year plan, that started in 1949. By 2049, 29 years from now, they look to be supreme around the globe. And I go into an hour-long discussion on many of the steps that they're taking politically, economically, diplomatically, and quite frankly, on the industrial side as well. They have got a plan and they are executing it. But before we get to 2049, part of that defense for America is that we all need to understand that within 8, maybe 10 years, the scales will start tipping for China, and I'm not certain that we will get this back. So maybe this is new. I don't want to be a downer right first thing in the morning, but I trust that we all have either know about this or can gain some more insight on this. So when our Air Force small business slogan is beyond goals, because it is so much more meaningful than just a percentage, etc. We want to pump as many dollars into small businesses as we possibly can because they are the innovators, not the large businesses. And so I have a couple of books that you may want to read in terms of what our threat for our nation is. The first would be by Jonathan Ward. It's China's Vision for Victory, which he quotes many of their statements of how they're going to reascend to supremacy. And also a new book out, Stealth War by Robert Spalding. So that, and if you can read the long-time classic, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, you will understand what China is doing. Now, back to our Air Force priorities. We are building a new United States Space Force within. So a lot of small businesses targeted. We got a huge effort at our Space and Missile Center out in Los Angeles Air Force Base, as well as in Colorado Springs. And we are looking for a lot of small businesses as we stand up this new Space Force. We have to modernize, and so there's a lot of support, as well as at the installation level, which I never forget about, is that many small businesses, we rely on that in terms of keeping our installation strong and secure as well. And in our lines of effort that we've just started, I've started a board of directors for Air Force Small Business, is to build mission-focused small business leaders. Many of our senior leaders are already focused on small business because they know that's where the tech is. They're quite frankly, they're a little perhaps tired of dealing with Boeing and Northrop Grumman and some of the other large businesses. And I'm not beseeching them. We need them for some of the capacity, but they are not the innovators. We count on small business. Tools, not rules. We're getting away from things. We're trying to focus on how do we make for effectiveness and how do we cut through that red tape. And we've already taken some steps in that right. We want to become your partner of choice. When you look at it at all the opportunities, and it's great to see that poll right up front this morning of how many people are already doing business with our services, any of the services, and we all work together. And then most importantly, we've got to, okay, very fine. Thanks, Tommy. So we're going to establish the Space Force. Now, in terms of long-range acquisition forecasts, that's something that perhaps we can pulse people or maybe like to get your inputs to. We've had a discussion within the Air Force. Some folks are saying, well, we need to have a long-range acquisition forecast out 3 years or 5 years. I don't know that truly benefits small businesses. Perhaps that's too far out. So if there's a method or feedback mechanism to get back to Tommy or Sharon, please tell us how far out you need an acquisition forecast for the products or services that you provide and that you're looking to provide to any of the services. Is it 12 months out? Is it about 18 months out for your planning and budgetary purposes? Would love to hear some feedback. Yesterday I had a conversation with a trade association. Once again, they were saying 3 years out is too far because you don't know what the budget's really truly going to be. So we look forward to getting some of that kind of feedback so we can have this communication as what works for you. So once again, I'm not going to go through all 28 slides. They'll be provided. Lots of great generic information, how the process works. You can read this at your leisure at another time because I don't want to take up too much time this morning because we have a couple of other great speakers here. And so I'll turn it over to back to Tommy Marks to have Jimmy switch on. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jimmy, if you just hold on for a second, Jimmy, we got time for some questions, Scott. So before you fly off into the wild blue yonder, right? You talked about the Space Force, right? Which we all know is brand new, and we got a lot of companies out there that's in innovation. Where do we go from a company? I'm out there and want to get involved in what's happening with the Space Force and Air Force in general.
Well, that's a great question, Tommy. Thanks for that. Right now, we will set up, and I'm being kind of generic here, and I've shared some information, and Jimmy Smith from Navy has shared with us. We'll have a Department of the Air Force, then we'll have United States Air Forces underneath that, and United States Space Forces under that. Right now, we are focused on the small business support within the Space Forces. We will use existing human resources, small business professionals that are already in line. So working with the Space Forces that are establishing in Colorado Springs, the Space and Missile Center in Los Angeles Air Force Base is highly focused with a lot of their innovation. They've had several pitch days to bring in small innovative companies. They had one last year in the just south of San Francisco to reach out to many of these high-tech companies that can help support the Space Forces. It's a very growing area and something that we need to really get after. So we'll be working more with the Space Forces and the Space Missile Center to create and expand those announced opportunities. Over.
Okay, hey, appreciate that, Scott. And you mentioned about installations, which is something I think about all the time. The Air Force has several of them. I'm a small business. I'm out there. Tied to one as you think about this response. Tomorrow we enter the last quarter of the fiscal year, and we know that becomes a lot of spend takes place, especially through midnight 30 September. If I want to try to understand requirements at places like Andrews Air Force Base, where do I go for that? Is there a link on your website?
Sure. Another great question, Tommy. And that's one of the things that we're restructuring that long-range acquisition forecast. We are going to be through that board of directors structure at each of our major commands or buying commands that have multiple installations underneath them. We are going to be making a call through our board of directors structures to those major commands to pull up what are their needs in this last quarter and for fiscal year 2021 as well. So we're going to be making a fresh call, but that's why I asked the question earlier for folks is how far in advance do you need to know for acquisition, for your budgetary planning and acquisition planning, so that we're not doing it too far in advance, but we will be refreshing this. I've had the conversation with board of directors this past week, and based after this telephone or this meeting today, this event, we'll be recontacting those board of directors. So let's firm up those requirements and get those out to make sure that everybody is aware of it and everybody's got the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell you what I'll do is I believe the high-speed team that I work with, that we could actually put that in the end of the webinar survey question and see what feedback we get and provide to you.
That's great. We need to have that conversation is what works for everybody. I'm not so self-centered to think that whatever I think is the right answer. So I love the polling opportunity. So thank you for doing that.
Okay. I think time for one last question. I'll ask Ms. Claudia Barrera, one of my partners in crime. Do we have any key questions from the audience in the chat?
Yes, we do. When do you believe the Air Force will be requiring the CMMC certification in RFIs and RFPs?
That's another great question. The CUMC is a topic of discussion. And once again, with Jimmy Smith and also Kim Bueller from the Army Small Business, Navy and Army Small Businesses Office, respectfully, we are working in concert with the OSD Small Business Program Office to kind of start seeing how this is going to be implemented. In discussions that we've had with several individuals, it appears that the CMMC standards will actually be becoming, quite frankly, more commercial in nature. So here's the opportunity for small businesses is to understand at what level, as we go through these various categories and levels, I think it's to 5 levels, if I recall correctly, is the ability that if small businesses can get in early with these kind of certifications, once again, not reaching too far ahead, but being in position where you're starting to become aware of the information. And there's a lot of dialogue going on with OSD right now. This is a concern for many small businesses. This is recognized, but this is not an attempt to push small businesses out. Quite frankly, it's an opportunity for small businesses who are light, lean, and lethal to be able to become aware of these CMMC standards. How do they get there? And how do you position yourself depending upon your product or services and your organization? How do you get there first? Because if you've got the certifications, that in the future may become a requirement. You many times can be much more, we have much more agility than a large business, a large bureaucracy. So that could be an advantage for you. Over.
Hey, Scott, thanks very much, man. Really appreciate it. I know you got to run. We know where you hang out there in the 5-sided building. Probably at home now, but we'll get to you. Thanks very much again, and I appreciate your support.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's been great to join you today, and look forward to other questions and communications with all of you. Thanks so much.
So it is my pleasure to bring on Mr. Jimmy Smith, the Director of the Office of Small Business for the United States Navy. Go Blue. So Jimmy, you can turn that camera on so they can see that smiling face.
Oh man,
I gotta
really?
Yeah, I tell you.
You're really gonna make me smile.
This young man sacrificed. He was actually in the hospital yesterday, I must say that. And but there was nothing to keep him from coming and talk with us today. Jimmy, the floor is yours.
That's absolutely true, Don. But thanks again for extending me the invitation to be here today, and to my colleagues from the Air Force and the Army. Hey, we're doing some fascinating things, and we're even more aggressive than a lot that we've done in the past. And I encourage small businesses to do business with us. Despite the coronavirus, we are wide open for business, and we're looking for opportunities to partner. And hopefully I'll get to some of your burning issues when I get to my slides here. Let's go ahead and pull up my Outstanding. Let's go to the next slide. We'll get right into this. From the Department of the Navy's standpoint, we are perfectly aligned with our small business program up through the Navy's operations plan and to the National Defense Strategy. There is nothing that we're doing as a part of our program that lends itself to we're just doing this because we're good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We're doing this because we have a mission. We have a requirement to support the warfighter and those that support the warfighters, and that's what our driving force is. There are no handouts. There are no let's just help folks get along and get some of this the money that we have available. We are really about supporting the warfighter. So we're strategically aligned. As you can see there, we have 3 primary focuses: people, capabilities, and the processes. And I'll get a little bit into that in my brief. Next slide. Okay, along with that strategic alignment, you can see within one of the pages within the document is how we're actually capturing this body of work. We have 10 major buying commands across the Department of the Navy, and that includes the Marine Corps, for those of you that are unfamiliar with how the Navy structure is lined up. But I'll talk deliberately through those major buying commands to let you know who those buyers are so that you can target directly your product or services towards the needs of what you're trying to provide to the warfighter. Next slide. So let's dive into those buying commands here deliberately. So first one on the list, U.S. Marine Corps installations and logistics. They provide the capability that the Marines need in order to establish bases and forward deployed areas. If you need a road, if you need a bridge built to cross a river, those are the activities that you can contact if you're selling goods and services to provide warfighting capability. This is not the actual Marines on the ground and the things they need in order to fight. That'll be the next group. So shifting to them, the Marine Corps Systems Command, located in Quantico, Virginia. Everything that a Marine needs to fight comes out of this one major buying command. And from helmets to boots to armor to weaponry to vehicles that they use to go into combat with in the IT system associated with their warfighting capability, that's what you're going to target if you're interested in doing business in that regard. Next on the list, Naval Facilities Command. This is the Navy side of building bases, building barracks, building the facilities that we need, power plants, water treatment. Those are activities that you want to target if you're interested in doing business in that regard, and that's Naval Facilities Command. Next one is a very special entity, the Strategic Systems Programs. As you might be aware, the U.S. Navy has a weapon, a nuclear weapon that we use. It's only housed on board submarines. The organization that is responsible for the life cycle support of that weapon system is Strategic Systems Programs, and they're located at the Washington Navy Yard. So if you're interested in the high-end technological, most lethal fight we could get ourselves into, that body of work is performed out of the Strategic Systems Program. Next on the list is Naval Supply Command. Naval Supply Command is where we buy our commodities, paints, adhesive, glues, materials, anything that you need that you could possibly buy from like a Sam's Club or a Costco. That's the activity that purchases those things along with the Defense Logistics Agency. So from a Navy specific standpoint, we have some unique materials that we buy, but these are generally commercially available consumables that we could acquire. Next slide, please. Next on the list, we have Military Sealift Command. I'm not sure many people know that we actually have a non-warfighting Navy that supports our Navy, so that warships don't have to go into ports in order to be replenished and offload weapons and offload trash and replenish themselves. We actually have a floating Navy out of the Military Sealift Command that's basically chartered to keep those vessels deployed in that sea for the maximum amount of time that they can. So if you have to resupply a ship, you can actually use a helicopter to pick up those supplies from the Military Sealift ship and transport them over to the warfighting ship and offload things that you don't need back onto the chartered ship. So housed out of Norfolk, Virginia is where they're located, but it's basically a chartered service for ocean-going vessels, helicopters, things that you need in order to transport goods and services to those that are operating in a forward deployed area. Next on the list, Naval Air Systems. Patuxent River, Maryland is where they're located. Everything that flies in the Navy comes out of Naval Air. And from drones to aircraft, be it helicopters, be it fixed wings, that's where they do that body of work, and the capture of those vehicles as they land on aircraft carriers is done from that command as well. Almost done here. NAVWAR. This is our information warfare systems, headquartered in San Diego, California. All of the IT that goes afloat is done out of NAVWAR, and they have a PEO, a Program Executive Office, that handles all the IT for all shore-based commands. So if you're into the IT and communications world, that's the activity you want to target there. Two more. Office of Naval Research. If you're interested in doing science and technology, discovery and invention, those next Navy or Navy after next kind of opportunities, the Office of Naval Research is who you want to target in that regard. And we have SBIRs, STTRs. We have a number of methods that we use to engage small businesses on pushing the envelope with innovation. And great activity right here in Northern Virginia. And last but not least is the Naval Sea Systems Command. Anything to do with the ship, submarine, aircraft carrier is done out of the Naval Sea Systems Command, located right here in Washington, D.C. And that's entire life cycle support of those vessels. Okay, next slide. Almost done here, Tommy. I think this is the meat of what everybody wants to see from my, Roger that. This is the meat of my presentation. Thank you very much for building the slide out. If you go to the Department of the Navy's Office of Small Business Programs website, and you can Google Department of Navy, Office of Small Business website, and this is a screenshot of it, you can go to our Long Range Acquisition Forecast tab. Going to that Long Range Acquisition Forecast tab, you will find at my last count 87 Excel spreadsheet pages of contracting opportunities that we have across those 10 major buying commands. This is a body of work that we've collected from each of the 10 major buying commands, and their forecasts go out to the year 2025, and I've even seen some that go out to the year 2026. So we're really making sure that we provide the transparency to our industry partners so that you can forecast appropriately on those particular solicitations you may want to bid on, and you can direct your capital into targeted areas instead of waiting for something to come out over Fed Biz Ops or other avenues that provide information to you. This is a available website. You can go visit and surf your heart away and find all the opportunities that we have upcoming across the 10 major buying commands. I know for a fact that the strategic systems programs and maybe one more may not be on that current version that's on the website right now, because there's some sensitivities with showing things that we're working on and we have interest in the future, and to start broadcasting that information too early in a process. But we still have mechanisms for you to get details on what we're interested in doing business with and the contracting actions that we have upcoming. And we look forward to doing business with you. Okay, next slide. Go ahead and build it out. That's an example of the spreadsheet. So looking back in our rearview mirror about what we've done by way of small businesses, last year we had $16.6 billion awarded to small businesses as primes in the Navy. And I get no credit for small businesses working as sub to other larger primes. So that's work that we do directly with small businesses. And you can see the breakdown as you go around the horn there regarding how many opportunities and different outreach events that we involve ourselves in to make sure we're fostering that opportunity to work with you. Last slide. Navy Gold Coast. This particular year, we're going 100% virtual. At the end of August into September, we have our Navy Gold Coast Small Business Event. Typically, on average, we have about 2,500 small businesses and large industry partners at this multi-day event where you can do a great deal of networking, mentoring, find other industry partners that may be aligned with what you're doing or complement what you're doing. But this year we're going 100% virtual in light of COVID-19. San Diego is using their convention center as a homeless shelter and COVID-19 overflow response facility. So we can't get access to that facility like we would need to and normally do. So we're going to go adapt and go virtual in order to support our interests. But it's still going to be a widely attended event, and I highly encourage small businesses. If you're interested in doing business with the Navy, this is our showcase platform. So please come take a look at what we have to offer. All right, Tommy, that's it for me, sir.
All right, Jimmy. In fact, you closed out by answering one of the key questions. Navy Gold Coast and that magnificent industry day. So, hey, kudos, man. Look, so you mentioned about forecasts, and there's one question that we had in pre-registration that actually says, are these forecasts really real? What's the realism to them? I know they are, but I mean, that question actually came in, and so the key piece of that is, how often do you update, right?
We actually have real-time updates of that website. And I mean, if the military SEALA command decides today, you know what, we thought we were going to offer that thing in July and we're going to move it to August, we get a real-time update. And actually, the link that I have on my website, you can download the Excel spreadsheet, or you can go specifically to that buying command and get their most up-to-date information that I may be a day or two behind schedule. But we're very deliberate about providing that transparency that people need in order to know what we're doing. Because I don't want to surprise anybody or keep anybody out of participating if they're unaware of the opportunity that we have. That limits competition. That costs me more money if I have to go back to folks who are incumbents. So it's in our best interest to provide that transparency, and we're serious about it. But there is some realism associated with the budget, associated with what Congress does and laws and the national interests of this nation. As those things change, our needs may go away or they may get increased. So we have to be flexible. It's not a static document by any stretch of the imagination. It's very dynamic. And trying to keep up with 87 Excel spreadsheets of information is someone else's job, not mine.
What's really interesting and really the advantage of that is, I mean, if I'm going to do it myself, I got to go to sam.gov or beta.sam.gov, and I got to do all that research. And what you just said is, at your link, you can find our key stuff right there, and not have to do all that data mining. I mean, still got to do data mining. So understood. And so I'm gonna check with Ms. Kalala Madison and see what do we have in the chat room that Mr. Smith can expound.
Good morning. We have one question. Which contract vehicles will Navy and Marines use for small businesses?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question correctly. What do we mean by which contracting vehicles? We have all types. I mean, are you talking fixed fee, cost plus? I'm not exactly sure what we're getting at. Or set asides? We do set asides as well.
So Jimmy, let me maybe take a little stab at that. Sometimes for example, we got OASIS with GSA, the best in class with category management. So if I'm a small business and I come to you, your agencies, are they using what types of those vehicles are they using?
So Seaport NextG is the one that's most widely used for the Navy. NavAir actually has something that's actually separate from Seaport NextG. It's a MAC vehicle that they use, and I believe they just awarded it last month, where they've got $1 billion set aside for small businesses on one of their contracts down at NavAir. It's another best-in-class opportunity, but the vast majority of the Navy, minus NavAir, is using Seaport NextGen as the vehicle where you can go provide that opportunity, best-in-class opportunity.
So, Jim, what's the frequency? What's the frequency of the Seaport? I know, is that like a 10-year vehicle, and folks are already on it and obviously the task orders derived from that. If I'm a company that's not on it, what's my opportunity to get some of that work?
Absolutely. Well, it's a great question. And there is a 10-year life to the contract, but there are on-ramps and off-ramps to Seaport NextG. So finding the opportunity and having the capability to get on the ramp in order to do services for us, or if companies aren't doing business with us or they're not performing well, there are off-ramps for them to get off. So it's a very flexible vehicle for the Navy to use, and it is widely used across our organization.
Okay.
So highly encourage, if you want to do business with us, Seaport NextG is the primary way. If a program manager wants to use something outside of Seaport NextG, you actually have to go to the head of contracts to get a waiver to use something different than what Seaport NextG is supposed to provide, because it was supposed to be that global, all-encompassing contract mechanism. And to get that waiver, I understand you have to probably pull some teeth and toenails out in order to get that waiver, but they are possible.
All right. Hey, Jimmy, look, I really appreciate it, and especially based on what happened yesterday, which was a Monday. We never know what takes place on Monday. Your
Yes,
visit
sir.
to the hospital. Okay. And if you just stand by, we're gonna have a general question thing at the end. Greatly appreciate it.
Sure, so, I'll be here.
At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Pamela Calicut to come on. She's representing the United States Army. The small business director for the Army is Ms. Kimberly Bueller. And so, Pamela, thanks for standing in for Ms. Bueller. If you would click on that little button, and we can see your smiling face live on the camera if you're still connected. And the floor is yours.
Good morning. How are you? Thanks to Mr. Marks and Mrs. Pender for inviting me on behalf of the Army to participate in this outreach event. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the Army. The Army, I'll start off with some achievements as far as small business awards. In FY19, the Army awarded $21.3 billion to small businesses. We exceeded all 5 socioeconomic categories as far as goals that were assigned to the Army. For FY20, for small business overall, we are currently at 23.86%, which we're trending about a percentage down from FY19. For small disadvantaged business, we're at 11.39%, which is up from FY19. Women-owned small business, 4.55%, which is down a little from FY19. Hub zone, which is 2.30, we're trending up, which is significant because most of the federal government has problems achieving the hub zone goal. So that's really good that we are trending up from FY19. And then for service disabled vet-owned small businesses, we are trending down. We're currently at 3.25%. What I'd like to do is kind of give you the structure of the Army's Office of Small Business Programs and what our mission is. Our mission is to advise the Secretary of the Army and the Army senior leadership on small business related matters. And we also spearhead innovative initiatives that contribute to expanding the small business industrial base relevant to the Army's mission priorities. The Army's mission priorities are modernization, readiness, reform, and people. So the Army Office of Small Business Programs, we're located in the Pentagon. However, we are a policy office, and we have subordinate offices in the commands that they actually do the procurement of services and products on behalf of the Army. The Army has 4 buying commands. They are Army Materiel Command in Huntsville, Alabama. They are USACE, the Corps of Engineers. They're headquartered in DC. National Guard Bureau is also headquartered here in DC. And then we have the Medical Command, which is headquartered in San Antonio, Texas. And the Army's newest command is Army Futures Command, which is headquartered in Austin, Texas. And they are responsible for the modernization efforts on behalf of the Army. Next slide. Okay, so on this slide right here, I just kind of wanted to give you a picture of the comparison of FY19 and FY20, the statistics in each of the socioeconomic categories on how the Army has the awards and the percentages, dollars, and actions that the Army has awarded to small businesses. Again, as I stated, we are trending upward in some areas and downwards in some areas. COVID-19 does have some impact based on awards that we're doing, especially when it comes to the Medical Command and Army Materiel Command. Next slide. So on this slide, it's just showing you, again, achievements that the Army's accomplished for FY19 and FY20 and how we're trending as far as the percentages based on the Army's assigned goals for small business awards in the socioeconomic categories. So the Army historically has done well as far as utilization of small businesses. I've been in this office for a little over 5 years, and every year that I've been here, the Army has exceeded the goals that we've been assigned by the Department of Defense. There was only 1 year that we didn't achieve the hub zone goal, but historically the Army does exceed the goals as far as utilization of small businesses. Next slide, please. So since we are in the midst of COVID, this is just a chart to kind of show you the Army's awards, again, utilization of small businesses as it relates to the COVID actions, dollars, small business percentages, and total actions that are awarded on behalf of the Army. Next slide, please. Sorry, I'm working from two laptops, so I went backwards on my slides. So the next slide here is just shows you the Army top 25 NAICS codes that we've made awards in and the dollars for COVID-related action. So this is a pretty huge list. As you can see, building construction and pharmaceutical preparation and manufacturing and facility support services, they top the list as far as the COVID-related awards that the Army's doing. Next slide. And so this slide is just showing you the product service codes, also just a different depiction of the Army's awards and obligated dollars for COVID-related action. And since there's a lot going on with COVID and awards and stuff, I thought it was important that we show you the awards that the Army's doing in relation to COVID-19, and that although we are in this pandemic, the Army is still utilizing small businesses. Next slide, please. Did I have a question? No? Okay. The next slide, so this is a map, and we typically use this map even with all of our obligations. So this map just depicts by state the dollars that the Army's awarding across the 50 states for COVID-related dollars and stuff. And so the next slide, the Army is putting out a lot of information on the CARES Act, on COVID-19, those things that are impacting small businesses. We have a customer feedback form where if a small business has any issues or concerns or challenges, you can fill out this form, you can send it to us, and we will have one of our program managers respond to you and provide your response, or connect you with the right person that can provide you with the information that you're looking for. It is heavily used. I get emails every day regarding questions or comments that people may have, problems that they're having. because of COVID-related issues, the CARES Act, understanding the CARES Act, and those kind of things. So any information that the Department of Defense provides to us regarding COVID or assistance to small businesses like FedMall that DLA is currently using to ensure that small businesses can procure through the federal government on FedMall PPE for their employees. So we post all of that information. So it's just a one-stop shop for all COVID-19 related information at the hands of small businesses for them to utilize. Next slide, please.
2 minutes, Pamela.
Okay, so this form also is, we get a lot of requests for outreach events for us to participate as panelists or as keynote speakers. You can fill out this form. It will come to us. We'll assign the appropriate person to participate in the outreach event. And we just ask that you fill out all the information so we can make sure that we assign the appropriate person to assist you. Next slide. So on this slide, I've listed all of the Army's buying commands, the points of contacts for the Army's buying commands, so that because again, in our office, we don't procure products and services. These are the people that procure the products and services. Army Materiel Command procures about 60% of what the Army buys as far as products and services. So they will have the bulk. Under Army Materiel Command, the installations and the garrisons, they fall under Army Materiel Command. So those are the people that you go to regarding installation type requirements. The Corps of Engineers, they primarily procure facilities and all of those kind of things. Anything, they're also chartered to assist FEMA when we have like a pandemic or a national disaster. So they handle those kinds of things. Army Medical Command, of course, procures medical products. They have installations too, so there are other products and services that they procure. And then National Guard Bureau, they procure a gamut of things too. They have installations, they procure those kind of things. And then again, Army Futures Command is the Army's command that is responsible for modernization of the Army's weapon systems and those things. And so they're headquartered again in Austin, Texas. And they primarily do a lot using OTAs, cyber those, they do a lot of research and development. So that's where you would go if you have innovative ideas that you want to assist the Army in far as our modernization efforts. Next slide. So that was pretty quick. That was the gamut of what the Army does. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have in case I didn't cover some of the topics that you're interested in.
Well, I think, I'm biased, so I think you gave a good rundown, but we do have a question. So if I'm an R&D contract service provider with an 8A certification, are there any set-asides by the Army Research Labs, and how do I find those?
So what I did fail to say, and I apologize, on our website and on the slide number 10 that shows each of the Army commands, it also at the bottom has our website, https osbp.army.mil. On our site, we also have a long-range forecast for all of the commands that have all of their requirements and stuff out there. So you can go to our website, you can look under the long-range forecast that we have posted out there to see what opportunities exist with the Army. In addition to that, every October, the Army does AUSA, that's our premier outreach event where we do some matchmaking. We have approximately 30 federal agencies and about 10 large businesses, industry partners that participate in matchmaking with us, and we set up those appointments. Within the next 30 30 or so days, we'll be opening up. We'll put something on our website advertising AUSA. The Army has not made a decision on whether that event will be an in-person or virtual event, so more to come on that.
Okay, Pamela, thank you very much for your participation and what you shared with us. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Sharon Pender and our next guest. Thanks. Kenny.
Okay, Tommy, if you come back on for just a second. I said, I know this was kind of like old home week for you as the former director of the U.S. Army Small Business Program. And so again, thank you for pulling this together and the strategies around us finding out opportunities. So our guests will be back, correct? After we do this for general Q&A?
Yes, they will.
Okay, very fair. So let's do this, and we ask you, our attendees, to kind of hang in there with us. We are going to introduce our next guest, and that is Karen Price Ward, the Community Outreach National Team Lead for Southwest Airlines. Good morning, Karen, and thank you so much for joining us today. And by the way, Southwest Airlines has been the official airlines for the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council and our business consortium for at least 5 years I've been president. And so we are very, very honored to have Karen here today. And we're very appreciative of being a community partner of Southwest Airlines. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. And I have learned so much today. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you today. Before giving away the Southwest Airlines tickets, I would like to share with all of our guests today the Southwest Promise, from check-in to deplaning. We want you to know that when you travel with Southwest, please know this: our top priority has and always will be your well-being. We've employed stringent cleaning and physical distancing practices to support the well-being of our employees and our customers. We're using electrostatic and antimicrobial spray treatments, and we're cleaning our aircraft between each flight using a disinfectant with the same grade that's used at hospitals and restaurants. We're also implementing social distancing measures, and we're limiting the number of passengers that are allowed to board. So we're doing that by pledging to sell. We will not sell our middle seats until September the 30th. So we are limiting the number of passengers on board, and up until September 30th, we will not be selling the middle seats. We've also modified our boarding procedures, so we're only boarding 10 at a time, and we are providing masks to our employees, and if you forget your mask, we'll have a mask for you too. So if you want to learn more about Southwest and our promise to you, and for when you are ready to travel, we want to let you know that we are ready for you. And so now, without further ado, I would like to share today's winner. I understand that you must be present. So if your name is Katrina Lyles, we're going to ask you to turn on your, unmute yourself, and you will be the winner of 2 round-trip tickets. They are valid to any of our 101 destinations in 10 additional countries. They have no blackout dates, no restrictions, and they are valid for 1 year. So Katrina Lyles, are you with us still?
Katrina, are you there? And Karen, Katrina?
I am. Thank you.
Congratulations. Yay.
Wonderful. Congratulations. And Katrina, I understand that you were the 50th person that was chosen who signed on today. And Southwest Airlines is celebrating 50 years of service. So that is why you were chosen, and congratulations.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm so surprised. I was not expecting this.
Well, we hope that you're happy.
I am.
Way to stay till the end. Thank you.
And listen, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue in our webinar series to partner with South Airlines. So this isn't the last opportunity. And as we move forward, and we'll come back in the wrap, but right now, do we have a few minutes to address any more questions? And Karen, thank you so very, very much. Tommy, are you bringing back your guests to do any more questions before we go?
Yes. Jimmy and Pamela, if you come back on, I think we have time for one or two questions. Claudia, what do we have from the audience?
For those, excuse me, for those of us who provide services, subject matter expertise, and not material goods, what are the best ways for us to do business with you?
Jimmy, you're yeah.
All right, I think I'm unmuted now. From the Navy's perspective, getting on those large, best-in-class service contracts are the best way to do business with us in that regard. If you're currently not on Seaport NextG or one of the MAC vehicles down at NavAir, I would highly recommend you to identify who some of those primes are and potentially partner with them in order to get yourselves rolled into the opportunity to do business with us, and make sure that your performance is as high as it can possibly be in order to continue to do work for us and then hopefully prime in a future situation. Over to Ms. Pamela.
Pamela, any comment on that question?
Okay, I unmuted myself, but someone else had me still muted, but I'm unmuted now. Thank you. What I would say is, and what I tell all small businesses when they're coming to do capability briefs with us is, you have to do a little research and find out the organizations under the Army, the commands under the Army, and what they procure, and who procures those services or products that you're trying to provide, so that you can get directly to those folks. So the best way to do that is to set up a capability brief with someone in our office or a command, or you know, when we have AUSA and we're doing the matchmaking, what we do is we put out the NAICS codes that those organizations procure, the top NAICS codes that they procure. And so you should match your NAICS code up with those organizations so that you can speak directly to those organizations who are procuring the products and services that you sell.
Okay. Mrs. Madison, Kalala, do we have a question?
Yes, we do. The next question will be, do you all have any suggestions on overcoming the barrier of facility clearance?
Great question.
We
always laugh. We know the chicken and the egg theory. You know, got to have a contract, get a clearance. Can't get a clearance without a contract. So I'll really, I'm joking about it, but the seriousness is probably the best way is to team with someone that has a clearance that's in your same space, and they sponsor you, and that's really the most efficient way to get it clearance. We know it's tough. We fought it all the time, but the government will not give you a contract if that contract requires a clearance, if you don't have that clearance. But that's the best way. I'll give you the last question, and this is from the 8A community. What is the best way to leverage my 8A certification?
Ms. Pamela, you want to take the first stab at it? You always go last every other time, so I'm taking your last spot.
I'll do that. So again, the best way to leverage your 8A certification is, it's like with anything else. You've got to understand what opportunities exist. And so going to each of our websites and looking at the opportunities that exist, and look at your capabilities and how they align with the mission of that agency, and getting in with a small business professional for that activity so that you can do a capabilities brief. Because if they don't know you're out there, then they're not going to come to you for your capabilities. So you've got to market yourself to those agencies that are looking for those services or products that you provide as an 8A.
And I would wholeheartedly agree with Pamela on this one. One of the other things that I would like to caution industry partners that have that 888 status, be careful of who you're doing business with if you're trying to be a sub to a prime. Don't let someone wear your badge and then not do the fair share opportunity that they negotiate with you in the subcontracting plans. I know that some of these larger industry partners, in order to make themselves look good, they will wear your badge during that pre-solicitation, pre-award phase. And once the contract's awarded, for some reason, you didn't get the X percent of work that they talked you into in order to partner with them in the first place. So be very careful of the badges that you wear, and don't let everyone use them and exploit your opportunity just so that they can make themselves look good to a customer. So wholeheartedly agree with Pam on everything she said, and just be careful of who you're doing business with, and be deliberate, because they're getting a benefit by you being on their team, but you should get the benefit of the work that was promised. And I've seen way too many cases of that not being the case, and it's quite unfortunate.
Well said, Jimmy. And with that, I will pass the baton back to my esteemed leader, Ms. Sharon Pender.
Thank you, Tommy. And Mr. Smith and Councilman, I want to thank you for taking the time. But more importantly, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the hundreds of people that listen to you today for what you do. People don't necessarily understand the sacrifices you make personally in terms of the mission that you take on and deliver. So thank you. Thank you very much. I want to tell our audience that all the questions that have been submitted will be addressed. And so we do send that information out, as well as the presentations. And we ask that you also hit us up on our social media platform at CRMSTC. But more importantly, in front of you, what you see is contact information. Let's go back just a moment. You see in front of you contact information, which you will also receive just as well. But I'd like to, can I go back one slide, please? Thank you so much. Okay, this is the contact information that our guests has generously have provided. Again, you get this in the package post-webinar. And then the next slide, what I'd like for you to do is to actually place on your calendars. Can I have the next slide, please? Place on your calendars our next webinar, Hot Sheet Live. We are on a mission, on a journey to always uncover where is the money. It is part 6 for us. It is Tuesday, July 7th. It's going to be some more Southwest ticket giveaway, a little bit differently this time. Don't think that you're going to wait to be number 50. It's not going to work. But this is who we're going to have. Exclusive conversations with the DMV's leading advocates. Secretary Jimmy Reed from the Maryland Governor's Office of Small Minority Business Affairs, Christy Whitfield, who's the director of the DC Department of Small and Local Development, and Tracy Wiley, who's the director of Virginia Small Business Development. We have actually encompassed our region. You don't want to miss the conversation with our leading advocates, those public officials. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. I know you got a tremendous amount of information and valuable way to spend your time. Thank you for hanging there with us, and we'll give you back the remainder of your day. Thank you so much.